pastor in Jerusalem and his congregation are being evicted from their church again. It may be retaliation or just coincidence, but it happened right after he appeared on the 700 Club.
Pastor Steve Curry came here to talk about persecution facing Arab Christians. Julie Stahl has the story.
Calvary Baptist Church sits in an East Jerusalem neighborhood less than half a mile from the old city walls. It's surrounded by Muslim neighbors.
We weren't welcomed with open arms, obviously, because of who we are, being evangelicals.
Pastor Steve Curry says things calmed down until he recently toured the U.S. talking about struggles facing Arab Christians in the Holy Land.
I was on CBN, and of course I talked about what's going on in the Holy Land, and I talked about needing to grow in East Jerusalem.
Unfortunately, a lot of people's mindsets who are considered to be jihadists or extremists, that is their ultimate goal, is to put fear and submission in the heart of every single Christian in the Middle East.
And they're pretty effective in doing that.
Yes, unfortunately they are.
Within 24 hours, Curry received an eviction notice, giving his church just 30 days to vacate, even though the rent is paid for the next full year.
The family that we are renting from have been pressured by the extremists in the community.
Extremist pressure on their Muslim landlords has forced the church to move twice before.
My heart's desire within 30 days is for the Lord to make a miracle, that we can have our own place. We found a place that is a Muslim that's willing to sell us a building, a 5-story building that meets exactly what we need.
Curry wants Christians to stand with him for their own building. He believes the only way to reach the community for Jesus is to be there. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, that's just an example of what goes on when you try to be a Christian in Jerusalem. Pray for our Christian brothers and sisters in Israel, on the West Bank. It's one of the untold stories of the Christians who are there and are suffering. Lee Webb has the rest of our top stories from the CBN Newsroom. Lee?
Gordon, world leaders are still divided on how to fix Europe's debt crisis. This weekend's G8 summit at Camp David in Maryland shed light on the struggle to reduce America's debt as well. President Obama pushed European leaders to spend more, saying it would promote growth. Germany's Angela Merkel has been pushing for greater cutbacks in the Eurozone, and House Speaker John Boehner is renewing his pledge not to raise America's debt ceiling next year without significant cuts to spending.
You know, people aren't clamoring to invest in Greece today. And if we don't begin to deal with our debt and our deficit in an honest and serious way, we're not going to have many options.
Democrats say Republicans are trying to stall the economic recovery to hurt the president's re-election bid. President Obama and U.S. allies are committing to end the war in Afghanistan in 2014. They made that commitment at the NATO summit in Chicago. They're working on plans to give Afghan forces the lead in combat missions starting next year. Meantime, tensions remain high outside the summit, where police have clashed with protesters. They've also arrested 3 Florida men. They are accused of planning to attack the president's campaign headquarters in Chicago and the home of Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel. Police say the men are anarchists. A coalition of black churches has denounced the NAACP's endorsement of same-sex marriage. That move comes a week after President Obama came out in support of gay marriage. NAACP President Ben Jealous calls same-sex marriage a civil right. But Reverend Anthony Evans at the National Black Church Initiative opposes the move. He says President Obama and the NAACP will lose support among black churches for that stand. The MBCI is a coalition of 34,000 African American and Latin churches. A rare Ring of Fire eclipse captivated millions around the world Sunday. The moon covered about 96% of the sun, creating the so-called Ring of Fire phenomenon. The eclipse was seen throughout Asia and the western U.S. The event lasted for about 3.5 hours, but the Ring of Fire could only be seen for about 5 minutes. The last time this kind of eclipse occurred was 12 years ago.